Did you know that a mini stroke, something that might only last a few minutes, can raise your risk of a full-blown stroke overnight? As a brain doctor, I've seen it far too often. Patients come in describing strange, fleeting symptoms, tingling in their arm, blurry vision, a few slurred words, and they almost didn't come at all. They felt fine again after a little rest, but what they didn't know is that they were just hours away from a major, life-threatening stroke. Every year in the United States, over 240,000 people experience a mini stroke, or transient ischemic attack, TIA. And here's the terrifying part. Nearly 1 in 5 of them will suffer a real stroke within the next 48 hours. That's not months, not weeks, 2 days. These mini events may not leave immediate damage, but they are urgent warnings from your brain that disaster is right around the corner. So why are so many seniors missing the signs? Because they come fast, disappear fast, and feel harmless. But they're not. If you're over 60, what you're about to learn could save your life or the life of someone you love. Let's dive into the 5 signs your brain may already be giving you before it's too late. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Sudden numbness or weakness on one side of the body. It starts subtly. You might be brushing your teeth in the morning or pouring a cup of coffee when suddenly your arm feels heavy. Maybe your fingers slip, or perhaps you try to smile at your spouse and they notice something is off. One side of your face just doesn't move the same. The truth is, this could be the earliest and loudest warning your brain will ever give you, but it only whispers for a moment. Sudden numbness or weakness on one side of the body, whether it's in your face, your arm, or your leg, is not just a pinched nerve or I must have slept wrong. For older adults, especially those over 60, this is one of the most alarming red flags for a mini stroke, or transient ischemic attack, TIA. What makes it terrifying is how easily it passes, often within minutes. No pain, no lasting sign. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. When a TIA strikes, it means that blood flow to a part of your brain has been temporarily blocked, often by a tiny clot. Your brain cells, starved of oxygen, begin to malfunction. If the affected area controls movement or sensation on one side of your body, you'll feel that side weaken, tingle, or go completely numb. But when the clot dissolves or moves along, the symptoms vanish. You feel normal again. And most people, far too many, shrug it off and move on. Here's what they don't realize. TIAs are the calm before a storm. Statistics show that up to 50% of people who suffer a TIA will experience a full-blown stroke within just 48 hours. And that major stroke won't be silent. It may rob you of your ability to walk, talk, or even recognize your loved ones. It may leave you wheelchair-bound, unable to feed yourself, or worse. That minor tingle in your hand, that odd smile in the mirror, it could be your final warning. And if ignored, it might be the moment that changes everything. You may be tempted to wait, hoping it goes away for good. You may think it wasn't that bad, but in stroke medicine, every minute counts. The earlier you seek help, the more likely doctors can stop the next bigger stroke in its tracks. So if you ever feel numbness, weakness, or an odd heaviness in your body, even for just a minute, treat it like an emergency. Don't wait. Don't guess. Call 911. It could be the most important call you ever make. And yet, as frightening as numbness is, There's another symptom that's just as deceptive, one that sneaks up quietly through the eyes. You might not feel it in your body, but your vision might suddenly turn against you. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Temporary vision changes. You're reading the morning newspaper, watching your grandchild play in the yard, or driving to the grocery store, and suddenly, something isn't right. Maybe the words on the page blur. Maybe one eye goes dark, like a curtain falling over your sight. Maybe the world looks doubled, disoriented, or fades away for just a moment. It's so brief that you wonder if it really happened. You blink, shake your head, and convince yourself it's just fatigue or dry eyes. But what if it wasn't? For older adults, especially those over 60, sudden temporary vision changes may be one of the clearest and most dangerous warnings of a mini stroke, TIA. What you think is just your eyes could actually be your brain's cry for help. Medically, this vision disturbance is often called amaurosis fugax, a fancy term for temporary blindness in one eye. It happens when a blood clot or plaque temporarily blocks blood flow to the retina, the part of your eye responsible for sending images to the brain. The result? A brief, shadowy loss of vision that's often described as a dark shade being pulled down. It may last seconds or minutes and then disappear without a trace. But here's what's terrifying. Even if your sight returns to normal, the danger hasn't passed. It's only just begun. TIAs don't leave physical damage right away, but they warn that a major stroke could happen within hours or days. And vision loss is not just an eye issue. It's a neurological emergency, meaning that parts of your brain aren't getting the oxygen they need. In older adults with existing conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or high cholesterol, this risk is dramatically increased. Many seniors chalk this up to aging, cataracts, or overdoing it that day. But trust me, as a doctor, I've seen far too many patients come in after a stroke saying, "I thought my eyes were just tired." Those few moments of shadow could have been the moment to act and prevent a lifetime of irreversible damage, blindness, loss of independence, or worse. So, if your vision ever suddenly fades, blurs, doubles, or disappears, even for a moment, don't wait. Don't assume it's nothing. Go to the emergency room. It could be the most important decision you make for your health, your future, and your family. And if your words ever suddenly feel trapped in your mouth, or your speech sounds like someone else is talking, the next sign may be even more frightening because it takes away your voice. Let's talk about that next. 3. Difficulty speaking or slurred speech. You're in the middle of a conversation, maybe sharing a story with your grandchild or ordering your coffee at the diner, and suddenly, the words don't come out right. You know exactly what you want to say, but your mouth won't cooperate. Maybe your speech sounds slurred, like you've had too much to drink. Or maybe the words tumble out in the wrong order, or they don't come at all. For many older adults, this moment is deeply frightening, and it should be. Difficulty speaking or slurred speech is one of the most alarming and critical signs of a mini stroke, TIA. What happens in the brain during a TIA is like a power outage, brief but dangerous. The areas responsible for language and communication, like Broca's and Wernicke's areas, are extremely sensitive to blood flow. When oxygen is suddenly interrupted, even for just a few minutes, these centers begin to malfunction. You may still feel awake and aware, but your speech becomes garbled, confused, or completely silent. You may even struggle to understand what others are saying, as if they're speaking a foreign language. This isn't stress. It's not fatigue. It's your brain in crisis. Slurred or incoherent speech is not just a temporary glitch. It's a red siren that your brain is under attack. According to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, language disturbances are one of the most common early signs of stroke, and they often appear suddenly without warning. And while the episode might last only a few minutes, that doesn't mean you're safe. The risk of a major permanent stroke skyrockets in the hours following a TIA, especially when speech is affected. This kind of symptom is often dismissed or hidden by seniors out of embarrassment, but silence can be deadly. If your speech changes suddenly, if you find yourself unable to form words, slurring, or saying things that don't make sense, do not wait to see if it passes. Call 911. Every minute without treatment increases the risk of lifelong disability. And here's the sobering truth. If your words can vanish in seconds, so can your memory, your awareness, your very sense of self. Because the next warning sign affects the very core of who you are, your ability to think clearly and remember what matters most. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Sudden confusion or trouble understanding. You're in a familiar place, your kitchen, your living room, maybe even your church, but for some reason, nothing feels quite right. The clock seems off, the conversation around you sounds distant or strange, and suddenly you can't remember what you were just doing. You look at your spouse or a family member, and for a terrifying moment, you're not even sure what day it is. These moments of sudden confusion are more than just senior moments. They may be a sign that your brain is losing oxygen fast and that you're experiencing a mini stroke, TIA. The elderly often attribute moments like these to fatigue or forgetfulness. After all, we all misplace our keys or lose track of time now and then. But what sets a TIA apart is how abrupt and disorienting it feels. 1 minute you're clear and alert. The next, your thoughts are scattered, your memory feels foggy, and you can't focus enough to finish a sentence. In clinical terms, this is called transient cognitive dysfunction, and it occurs when blood flow is suddenly disrupted in areas of the brain that handle memory, attention, and orientation. Your brain is a delicate machine, powered by blood, fueled by oxygen. When even one part of that system falters, everything from decision-making to emotional stability can unravel. A TIA might only last 10 or 15 minutes, but the aftermath can feel haunting. Some patients report a lingering fear, an eerie sense of detachment from reality. And tragically, many dismiss these moments as just aging catching up. But according to stroke neurologists, confusion after a TIA is one of the most overlooked symptoms and one of the most dangerous, because if it happens once, it can happen again, and worse. If you or someone you love suddenly seems off, forgetful, or unable to follow a conversation, don't write it off as nothing. Call emergency services. Let trained professionals determine if it's harmless, or a stroke silently stealing precious time. Because if your mind becomes unclear in an instant, what happens when your balance, your strength, and your ability to stand are taken next? What if the next sign leaves you unable to walk across the room without falling? Let's talk about that before it's too late. 5. Dizziness or sudden loss of balance. You're walking across the kitchen to pour yourself a glass of water. It's something you've done 1,000 times without thinking. But this time, your legs feel unsteady. The floor seems to tilt beneath you. Maybe you reach for the counter or the wall. Maybe you don't make it in time. A sudden wave of dizziness washes over you, and for a split second, you're not sure which way is up. This isn't just getting older. This could be a mini stroke, TIA, and it may be the only warning you get before something much worse. For older adults, dizziness is easy to brush off. I stood up too fast, you might think. I didn't eat enough today. But when dizziness strikes out of nowhere, especially when paired with balance issues or difficulty standing, it's often your brain crying out for oxygen. A mini stroke can temporarily cut off blood flow to the cerebellum, the part of the brain that controls coordination and equilibrium. When this happens, even simple tasks like walking, turning your head, or getting out of bed can become dangerous. One of the most chilling realities is how easily these episodes can lead to falls. And for seniors, a fall is never just a fall. It can mean broken bones, hospitalization, long-term care, or worse. But the truth is, the fall may not be the root problem. It may be a symptom of something deeper, something more urgent happening inside your brain. Studies show that sudden, unexplained balance loss is often the first and only outward sign of a TIA. If you've ever found yourself grabbing onto furniture, swaying as you walk, or feeling like the room is spinning, do not wait and see if it goes away, especially if you've also had vision changes, trouble speaking, or numbness recently. These symptoms combined paint a dangerous picture. Your brain is at risk, and you need immediate help. And now that you've learned the 5 most common signs that a mini stroke might be knocking at the door, what should you do when one of them happens? That's where a powerful, life-saving acronym comes in. It's simple, it's fast, and it could mean the difference between walking out of the hospital or not walking at all. Let me show you what fast really means. 6. Remember the fast rule. When a mini stroke happens, your brain doesn't send you a calendar invite. It doesn't wait for a doctor's appointment or a better time. It strikes quickly, often silently. And unless you know how to respond immediately, the opportunity to prevent a life-altering stroke could vanish in minutes. That's why the fast rule exists, and why every senior, every caregiver, and every family member should know it by heart. Because when seconds count, hesitation can be deadly. VF stands for face. If one side of the face droops when you smile, even slightly, it's a red flag. Mini strokes often affect facial muscles, causing uneven expressions or an inability to control one side of the mouth. You might see drooling or notice someone struggling to eat or drink without spilling. A stands for arms. Ask the person to raise both arms. If one arm drifts downward or feels weak, it may indicate that blood flow to the brain has been compromised, especially in the areas that control movement and coordination. S is for speech. Listen closely. Is the person slurring words, speaking nonsense, or unable to repeat a simple sentence? Speech is one of the first abilities affected when a TIA strikes, and it's one of the most dangerous to lose. Don't chalk it up to confusion or nerves. Assume it's serious. T stands for time, because every second matters. If you see any of these signs, call 911 immediately. Don't drive yourself. Don't wait it out. The sooner a stroke or TIA is treated, the more brain function can be preserved, and the better the chance for full recovery. What most people don't realize is that the window for treatment is incredibly small, often just 3 to 4 hours from the first symptom. After that, the damage becomes much harder to reverse. That's why FAST isn't just a memory tool. It's a call to action. It's a lifeline. And in many cases, it's the only chance a person has before a mini stroke becomes a major devastating one. But even if you act fast, one question still remains. What can you do to prevent a mini stroke in the first place, before it ever begins? The answer might be simpler than you think. And it starts with your daily choices. Let's take a closer look. A warning you can't ignore, but you can act on. If you've made it this far, you've taken an important step, one that too many people never take until it's too late. A mini stroke or transient ischemic attack is not just a passing inconvenience or a moment of confusion to be brushed aside. It's a warning shot from your brain, a red flag waving urgently to let you know that something is wrong. And if you're over 60, the danger is even more real. The statistics don't lie. Nearly 1 in 3 people who suffer a TIA will experience a full blown stroke, often within just 48 hours. That's not a scare tactic, that's a fact. But here's what I want every senior and every family member to remember: this doesn't have to be your story. You have more control than you think. Recognizing the signs, numbness or weakness, vision changes, slurred speech, sudden confusion, dizziness, and responding immediately using the FAST rule can truly mean the difference between a temporary scare and a permanent disability. The minutes after a symptom begins are not minutes to waste. They are minutes to act, to call for help, and to protect your future. Because the future matters. Your ability to hug your grandchildren, walk through your home without fear, tell your favorite stories, and remember every precious detail of your life. All of that depends on your brain health. And while we can't stop aging, we can choose to be aware, proactive, and courageous. Talk to your doctor about your risk factors, like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, and a regular heartbeat. Take your medications as prescribed, stay active, eat heart healthy meals, and never ignore changes in your body. Most importantly, listen when your body speaks. It may not shout, it may whisper through a numb hand, a fuzzy sentence, or a single moment of disorientation. But those whispers can be life saving if you choose to hear them. You deserve peace of mind in your golden years, not fear, not hospital visits, not regrets. So let this be your reminder: knowledge is not just power, it is protection. Share it, live it, and most of all, never wait to act when your brain is asking for help. Because the next time, it might not be a warning, it might be the real thing, and you only get one brain. Let's protect it together. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.